Hey everyone, off the Mike Sports Network here. We haven't had a lot of NFL coverage, but want to talk about the Hall of Fame. Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025 was announced. Jared Allen, Eric Allen, no relation to each other, but good for them. Eric Allen's obviously been in the media for a long time, but he was a great player in his own right. Jared Allen, one of the great defensive defensive ends of his generation. So he's in. Antonio Gates, great moment with him, LaDainian Tomlinson telling him that he gets in. And then obviously Sterling Sharp, the brother of Shannon Sharp. Shannon announces and tells his brother that he's going into the Hall of Fame. So that's really cool. But there's a noticeable admission that a lot of people are freaking out about, and that is Eli Manning. Eli Manning is a very interesting case. And we knew that this was coming from the minute that he retired, that he was going to be a very interesting case of how we evaluated who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he's got 2 championships and he beat head to head in one of the great upsets in the history of the Super Bowl and in the history of sport, beat one of the great teams ever in the New England Patriots in 2007. That was a team that was going to go undefeated. And yes, Giants defense had something to do with it, but Eli Manning drove them down the field at the end of the game. He also beat the Patriots again. So he's got 2 rings, and that means something. And on the road to the second one, beat the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, who were 15-1 that season on the road in Lambeau. So that's nothing to sneeze at if you're Eli Manning. But his regular season career is very interesting. I think he is a statistically 500 quarterback. He led the league in interceptions on a couple of occasions. And the Giants on their 2 Super Bowl runs, they were a wild card team. They were a wild card team. So, yes, and I understand who his brother is in Peyton, but I I do think Eli is going to go into the Hall of Fame. I do think that that's going to happen. There are some people who say he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Listen, when you've done what he's done in his career, specifically in the postseason, you're going to get into the Hall of Fame. That being said, I do not think that this is some sort of an egregious omission of him not getting on the first ballot that he was on. There are flaws in his resume, and when your biggest calling card is winning 2 Super Bowls over the Patriots, yeah, that's a good accolade to have, but I don't think he was ever near the upper echelon in terms of first team pro, all pro. Like, yeah, he had some good teams and he was in a big media market, but also he was never thought of in the same pantheon as his brother. And yes, they do have the same amount of Super Bowls, but Peyton was always the better player. Let's get real. Peyton was always the better player. So, I for any Giants fan who's outraged about this, for any fan who is either way, and like some people will say, maybe Mike, you're hedging your opinion here. Listen, I think he's going to get in, but I don't think it's some sort of like egregious crime that Eli Manning is not in the Hall of Fame class of 2025 on the first ballot. I didn't think, and I texted a buddy of mine about this. I was like, yeah, and he said back to me exactly what I'm saying to you guys. It's like how I've kind of felt. I was like, I never viewed Eli Manning as like this iconic quarterback. Yes, he's made some iconic plays. Never been an MVP. I mean, he won the Super Bowl a couple times, but he's had some bad seasons. Like he's thrown a bunch of interceptions. Like he hasn't taken care of the ball. And if he doesn't even have, let's get real. Let's call it what it is here. If he doesn't have those 2 Super Bowls, I don't even think we're having this discussion, even with his last name. The fact that he's got those 2 Super Bowls and one of them was against maybe the greatest team of all time, depending on who you talk to. They were trying to go 19-0, the Patriots, and he leads them down the field, makes an amazing play. Everybody's going to focus on the David Tyree catch from that Super Bowl. Let's get real. Eli Manning got away from Adalius Thomas and that defensive line of the Patriots and was able to make an unbelievable throw. Everybody thought he was in the grasp and thought he was going to get sacked. Somehow makes the throw. Yes, David Tyree rescued him with a catch on his helmet, but people don't give Eli Manning nearly enough credit for what he was able to do in both of those Super Bowls. Made some unbelievable throws. But that being said, when you're talking about a Hall of Fame resume, there are flaws in, what he's bringing to the table. And that's why I think ultimately he was not elected on this ballot. He will get in my opinion. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but it might take him. He may get in next year, but there's a lot of heavy artillery coming in terms of a lot of big names are going to be eligible to go in next year. So that's going to be a problem, but he will get in. Eli's going to get in at some point. So that's my take on that. Anybody who's outraged either way, I don't think this is a big deal. I think, you know, he was a good player. And he obviously his resume is way more enhanced by the fact that he beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, and he's a champion and a Super Bowl MVP. So that's it for that. I will have a lot more coming. We'll actually talk about the Super Bowl, which feels like I haven't talked about it at all since it was formed a couple weeks ago. But anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.